So you had the Motorola Droid 1, which was the flagship device on Verizon for some time, kept people from going to the iPhone. Then you got the Droid 2, and by that time, the Droids were kind of falling behind the original line, that is, in place of devices like the Incredible 2, the Droid X, and the Droid X2. What's going on, guys? I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and Motorola is doing all they can to get that Droid line, the original keyboard Droid, back in the flagship eye. Here it is, Motorola Droid 3 on Verizon. It's available now for $199.99. It still is a 3G device, no 4G capabilities in this just yet, but it does have a dual-core 1 GHz processor. It has an 8-megapixel camera that's capable of shooting 1080p video. Then you have that full QWERTY keyboard that's really improved over both not only the Droid 1, but the Droid 2 as well. Bigger display as well, 4-inch QHD display. So it's high resolution across the board, tons of updates, Android 2.3. It's ready to compete in prime time, but the question remains, one, do people still need physical QWERTY keyboards? And two, can this device compete with Verizon's existing 4G lineup? We'll find out that and more in the review, but first, special thanks to our buds at Best Buy Mobile. They hook us up with a couple of these, a couple of other high-end smartphones that we give to you in the One Paw Bandit game for free. So that's pretty cool. When you walk into Best Buy Mobile, you'll walk out working. They'll help you set up your email, web, and more. But enough of that, let's get into it. Is this the phone to get? Should you go with one of the 4G devices, or should you stick with something like the Droid X2? We'll find out that and more in Phone Dog's review of the Motorola Droid 3, which starts right now. Take everything you didn't like about the Droid 1 and the Droid 2, and the chances are most of it's been fixed in the Motorola Droid 3. Here it is, the Droid 3, the newest iteration of the iconic Droid line. It has the QWERTY keyboard just like the original, it has a slide just like the original, and it looks very similar, but they made a lot of changes. They really listened to, or at least I think they've listened to some of the frustrations that customers and users have had, and people that wanted to purchase it but were turned away by some reason. I mean, really, it's kind of an all-encompassing device. I mean, the display's bigger, 4-inch display, QHD display, so it's high resolution. So kind of that nice middle ground between 4.3 and 3.7. Nice bump there. And then you have a dual-core processor. This is the second dual-core processor device on Verizon after the Motorola Droid X2. And then you have the 8-megapixel camera on the back with 1080p HD video recording capabilities, which is nice as well. 1,540 milliamp hour battery, and this nice thin profile. And it's a relatively thin device, and it looks much better to me. I think it bridges the gap between the Motorola Droid 1, which a lot of people said the Droid 1, the original, it was too boxy, it looked too industrial. Then you have the Droid 2, and I feel like they overcompensated for that and kind of made it a watered down, at least that's what I've heard from various people on the web. I feel like the curves on this one, it's still kind of an industrial look, but they really curved it and made it look a little bit different, and the hump down here at the bottom looks much nicer as well. One thing that I'm really digging as well is the battery cover. The battery cover is much improved. It's harder to remove, or I shouldn't say harder to remove, but it comes off in such a way that you don't have as much of an issue with it. When you're using it on a table or something, it doesn't slide off as easily. So huge improvement there, and it just all around feels better in the hand. So it is bigger. I don't have a Droid 1 or a Droid 2 on me right now as a review unit, but it is bigger and noticeably larger than the original. But I like the design. I like the way it looks. I like the earpiece is a little bit smaller up here. You have your front-facing camera. And to go back through some of the specs, Android 2.3, it is running Motorola's applications platform. Don't let them hear you call it Motorola Blur, because that's not what they're calling it anymore. It's Motorola's applications platform. This is a newer version. We're seeing this on the Motorola Droid X2, and we're seeing it on the Gingerbread update for the Droid X. And this is kind of a revised version. This is the latest version, and you'll notice some minor changes, like the way the browser icon looks, as opposed to some earlier versions of Moto Blur and now Motorola's applications platform. But all in all, I think it looks good. It's certainly not going to win people over like HTC Sense or TouchWiz. It's, the following, I don't feel with Moto Blur is quite there like it is with Sense and like it is with Samsung's TouchWiz, and vanilla Android for that matter. But it's still doable. It's much better, and it's a big improvement from where they were before. But you can see here, Android 2.3 out of the box. So you do get Gingerbread, which is a nice touch. And then you have this nice 5-row QWERTY keyboard as well. Keys are much larger, and they're spaced really well. And because there's no obnoxious D-pad over here on the right-hand side like the original Droid, the keyboard is a huge improvement. I've been working with this for a couple of days now, and actually am using one of my personal lines since I'm traveling overseas. Actually, I'm traveling as you're watching this video, so I will be testing the Droid 3 internationally, so I will let you know how it performs. But this keyboard, honestly, in a few days of use, this is one of the best keyboards I've used on a device. I like the Epic 4Gs, and there are others that I've liked in the industry, but this, perfect keys. Absolutely perfect. They're very tactile. They're rubberized, they're nice and round. And then you have the dedicated number, the number pad up here as well. They are island keys. There's some space in between, but they're much, I mean, worlds apart from the original Droid, and then much, much better than the Droid 2. So huge improvement. This might be my favorite Android keyboard now, hard keyboard that is, but we will wait and see. On the left side you have micro USB charging port, HDMI port. On the right side, your volume rocker, and then 3.5mm headphone jack, and power button. Now one thing I like about this device, I'll show you the one that I'm using, and take a look at these and see if you can tell any real difference. And I'll show you right here. This is what I really am impressed with. And you know, for people that travel and need it, it's pretty cool. Mine actually has an extended battery on it, believe it or not. It goes from 1,540 to 1,930. Can you really tell a difference? I mean, I can't either. You can see down here how the camera pops out, whereas with this one, it kind of juts in a little bit. But other than that, I mean, it's a little bit bigger battery door. It does bring it, you know, it includes a special battery door. But I mean, really, other than that, you can't tell. I mean, and that's impressive. You know, it goes away from those ugly, bulky battery doors that we remember from previous devices. So just a cool little accessory. I thought I'd point that out, and it's nice for people that you absolutely need that extended battery without it doesn't add the heft to the device. But here it is, Motorola Blur, Android 2.3 out of the box. You get VCast apps, Blockbuster, and these are Verizon pre-installed applications and Motorola pre-installed applications as well. Citrix, and you'll notice, you know, some of the icons like camera, camcorder, browser, they're customized for Moto Blur. They're a little different even than previous versions of Moto Blur as well. So we can go over here and see GoToMeeting pre-installed, IM, Let's Golf 2, mobile hotspot on the Verizon side, Moto Print, My Verizon Mobile, NFL Mobile, Nova, and then Quick Office, Skype Mobile, Slacker, Social, well no, I'm sorry, that's Motorola Blur, VCast Media Manager, Music, Tones, Videos, Navigator, and then Zoomocast. Then you can also go to the Verizon ones by going up here to All Apps and clicking on Verizon Wireless. Then it brings up the pre-installed software. Now, you know, you look at this, excuse me, and you're like, you know, there are quite a few Verizon pre-installed applications. Not nearly as bad as other devices like the Thunderbolt, some of the 4G devices, and then, you know, the Samsung Droid Charge as well. Much better in the pre-installed department there. That said, you can't remove those, so if you want to add, you know, if you need the space or you just want to get rid of the Verizon stuff, you cannot take those off of the device. But a couple of differences here you'll notice with this newer version of Moto Blur. First of all, you'll notice how the transitions between home screens take place. It's kind of an HTC Sense 3.0 like thing. It's got this carousel type effect, and when we go here I'll show you, actually we'll hit home twice so you can see. It brings it up in kind of a 3DS carousel effect, and then as I scroll out you'll see it as well. I can scroll over and you can see how it brings in the calendar like that, and all of a sudden it pops into place. So kind of a 3D effect. Then when you move this, you can see how it quickly transitions over between the home screens, just to give you an idea. But 5 home screens, not 7, on this device, and you know, that's that with the new Moto Blur. Let's take a look at messaging. Show you the keyboards. Motorola's multi-touch keyboard. I've talked about this in a lot of videos. One of my absolute favorites on the market. I mean, it's just a great keyboard, and they really don't disappoint on the Droid 2 either. But again, you know, if you haven't seen the Droid X2 video, any of those videos with the new version of Moto Blur, I suggest you check them out, or hey, you can just watch this one. But you can see that there's some changes. There's this kind of nice blue overlay here. You see it in the notifications bar, a nice new blue color, and then you can go up here and click on plus and bring it up as well. So we can say, you know, this is Motorola's multi-touch keyboard. The Quick Brown Fox is ready to go. Quick Brown Fox is ready to go. And then I can bring up landscape mode as well that way, or I can bring up the full QWERTY keyboard. I mean, this thing's just a joy to type on. It's really impressive. The Quick Brown, and I'm usually not a fan, you know, it's funny, I was a BlackBerry guy for years, so I was big on physical QWERTY keyboards, and then I went away from those when I went to the touchscreen devices, and now it's kind of weird to type on one, but this one's just fantastic and well laid out. Quick Brown Fox is hungry and wants a beverage. So quick and easy to type on. And again, this, like I said in the beginning of the video, I'm taking a Droid 3 myself over to Europe to use on vacation. It is a global capable device. It's capable of global roaming because it has a SIM card slot in the back. You know, Verizon's CDMA, well, an LTE, but you know, CDMA primarily works in the U.S. and other countries, but GSM is the predominant standard. I'm trying to remove this. There we go. And you can see the Verizon Wireless SIM card there in the back, so you can activate that and use it internationally. So finally, Verizon's kind of realizing that there are people that travel internationally and travel pretty regularly for work or for pleasure, a combination of the both, and they're bringing in some nice international devices in their lineup. So let me get this cleaned off for you. And then there you can see Android 2.3. With the new lock screen, you can easily switch between vibrate or silent and sound, and then you just scroll over like that to get back in the main screen. But overall, very responsive. You can see that dual-core processor at work. It's a 1 gigahertz TI OMAP dual-core processor, and it seems to work well. Actually, let me go back into that so you can see over here as well. 2 different keyboard options come out of the box. You get Motorola's multi-touch keyboard, and you get swipe as well. So swipe's your thing, pre-installed out of the box, so you're good to go. Let's take a look at browser real quick as well, and we'll load up PhoneDog so you can see what it looks like. PhoneDog. PhoneDog.com. PhoneDog.com. 4-inch display, it's funny, after working with the Droid and the Droid 2, it's really a noticeable difference to have that little bit of screen real estate. I can tell it right away. I've always said 4 inches is a nice balance between the too small 3.7 inches and the holy crap that's too big 4 inches, or 4.3 inches rather, and even more so with the infused 4G on AT&T, which is 4.5 inches. That's a big honking phone. So this is a nice balance. And again, just take a look at the way it looks when the keyboard's out. You can see how thin it really is. And when you think that a lot of that's battery space over here, it's really an impressive impressively manufactured device. So here's PhoneDog. We'll do it in landscape mode just to show you. You can scroll up, scroll down, and it's still loading at the moment. But you can see overall responsiveness, very quick, very easy. There we go. Okay. Still loading, but you can see pinch to zoom. Very responsive, little to no lag, and this has become less of an issue now with dual-core processors and with Android 2.3. Used to, the browser would lag pretty significantly, but even with Flash, it's still a very responsive browser that's very easy to use, and again, it's still loading. So any lag you see is probably as a result of that. But here it is in landscape mode, and you can see that the transition is different as well in landscape, in portrait to landscape in this version of Moto Blur. You'll also see that the animation to turn it off is different as well. It goes back to that stock Android 2.3 animation where it turns it off and all goes down in the middle and disappears. So you get that. So anyway, pinch to zoom, very responsive. But then let's say you want to go over here and open up a separate window. You do not get the animations, the previews like you do on HTC Sense and Samsung's TouchWiz user interface. If I want to open a new window, it's very Android-ish, vanilla Android here, and I go back to Windows, it just shows me the text. It doesn't give me a preview of where I left off on the page or anything like that. So, no big deal maybe for a lot of people, but I would have liked if they had included that in the browser.